So give a round of applause to Lee Crosby. Thank you, Lee, for helping to dispel some of the myths that we encounter every day. So we had a delay from Dr. Jim Loomis was going to talk about the environment. He's going to be here a little bit later tonight. But instead, we've got a local celebrity, Chuck Carrol, who does a podcast called The Exam Room. He's also with PCRM. Has anybody watched the Exam Room podcast?
Yes.
Very cool. So I'm going to let Chuck say a few words about his experience. He's been to Green Fair and comes and does talks there, and he's got a very cool story.
Thank you, Gwen. I appreciate it. Round of applause for Gwen, please. Show of hands, who's been to her restaurant, Green Fair? Right? How amazing is that food? I love that. That's why I go and I give talks, just because she always gives me dinner afterwards. Anyway, hi, my name is Chuck Carrol. I do host the Exam Room podcast for the Physicians Committee. We've been doing it for about a year and a half now, and I have done a lot of things in my life. I've been a news reporter for CBS. I've been an anchor for NBC. I've seen a lot of incredible things, but nothing has been more satisfying than hosting this show. I mean, it is truly life-changing, and receiving emails from listeners from all over the world who say, thank you very much for helping spread this information. And it's so heartwarming. About 10 years ago, I looked nothing like this. I wish that I had a slide with me. I wish that I had my old jeans. So I'm just going to give you some numbers. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and I'm going to ask you to just kind of imagine what it was. So I'm 5'6" on my best day. All right, maybe with these shoes on, I'm 5'6" today. At my heaviest, I weighed 420 pounds with a 66-inch waist and a size 6XL shirt. I could not walk from here to this gentleman sitting in the front row with the camera without my chest starting to tighten and just dripping profusely in sweat. And the scary thing is, and that would be scary for anybody, but I was still only in my mid-20s. I was 24, I was 25, and I was convinced that I was not going to live to see 30 years old. But I couldn't stop eating. Has anybody here tried to diet before and done the roller coaster, go up, come down, go up, come down? I rode that roller coaster, and it was enormous. I mean, it would have been one of these theme park roller coasters. I would go all the way up, reach a peak weight, drop about 80 pounds, and then put on another 100 or 120. And it got to the point where I could not take it anymore. But as good as I felt when I would lose those 80 pounds, I was always continuing to struggle. And there was a secret that I didn't let anybody know. And that was I never changed my eating habits. Even when I was doing something as wacky as the cookie diet. And I was being paid to do something called the cookie diet. Except what the cookie diet people didn't know was, instead of following their diet program, I would go and I would spend an extra hour in a gym so I could keep burning those calories and the weight would continue to come off and nobody would be all the wiser. Now, why would I put in all of that effort? It was because I could not stop eating. For me, my vice was fast food. In particular, it was Taco Bell. Is anybody here familiar with food addiction? You know that saying, like, I think it was an old can of maybe Pringles potato chips. Once you pop, you can't stop. You can't eat just one. For me, it was, you can't eat one burrito, you can't eat one taco, you can't eat one quesadilla, you can't eat one big old plate of nachos, so you better have about 5 of each. And so I was eating about 10,000 calories worth of Taco Bell every single day. And if I did not get this Taco Bell, I would become basically the Incredible Hulk. My personalities would change. I would go from this mild-mannered, pleasant guy who everybody, I thought was my friend, to being just this raging jerk because a switch had gotten flipped inside of me. And it was more than just emotional. I want to talk to you guys about the physical addiction of food. Night one, I would be able to kind of get through it. I wouldn't feel good. I wasn't getting my fix. But I would be able to get through it because I knew, all right, I'm going to lose weight. This is the time, right? This is finally going to be the time. Night two would come. And then I would start to feel physically ill. Physically ill. I would lose a lot of color in my face. I would start to sweat. And I would start to get those chills on my skin. You know, like sometimes if you're getting sick and your skin hurts to the touch, I would start to experience that. But I couldn't figure out why. I thought, all right, well, maybe it's because I'm not eating as many calories as I used to. Well, maybe that was part of it, but it had more to do with the fact that my brain was freaking out because I wasn't getting my fix. And so what I've learned all these years later in doing the Exam Room podcast and by having incredible guests on like Lee Crosby and Dr. Neil Barnard, what I've learned is that the brain to these kinds of unhealthy, high-fat, high-calorie foods reacts the same way as it does to alcohol, as it does to drugs. The same pleasure centers light up in the brain. And that's why when you see somebody who is 420 pounds, 500 pounds, that's why when you see them, it's so difficult to lose weight. That's perhaps even why when you've tried to lose weight and you've done the yo-yo, you've had success and then you bounce back. It's a big part of it. It's because of food addiction. And one particular night, I remember it got so bad that I put my fist through a wall. I couldn't take it anymore. I put my fist through a wall, and then that didn't satisfy my anger, so I put my fist through a door. And meanwhile, I can't let anybody know that I'm struggling as mightily as I am. So after everybody else went to bed, I snuck out, probably 2 o'clock in the morning, found the 24-hour drive-thru, put down $20 for food at Taco Bell, ate every last bite of it, hid the evidence in the morning, and continued on with my cookie diet. That's food addiction. And it almost killed me. And there were all these other things going on in my life that you would say, hey, man, it should be so easy to stop eating. Your chest is hurting. You can barely walk from here to there without, feeling like you're going to have a heart attack. Well, I also had one girlfriend, and she refused to even admit to her friends that we were dating, admit to her family that we were dating. She begged me not to tell anybody else that because she was ashamed to be somebody that was my size. But I thought, well, 400 pounds, this is as good as it could get, right? So I just swallowed my pride and I put up with it. You would think that that would be enough to conquer food addiction on its own. No. There was a trip across the country on an airplane to San Francisco. I hadn't flown in many years. I knew it was going to be tight to fit into the seat. You would think that this would be the tilting point. When I walked onto the plane, I saw everybody stop. They stared, they looked at me, and I felt like a leper. And as I walked aisle by aisle by aisle to the back of the plane, I was trying so hard to sit alone. I remember looking at the faces of everybody, and they're saying, "Dear God, please don't let this man sit next to me. Don't let this man sit next to me." And I got all the way to the back of the plane. I sat down, and I tried to button the seatbelt. It wouldn't even come close. I'm not even kidding. Like, I probably barely got it here, and I barely got it there, and it just was not happening. So, after getting the death stares all the way to the back of the plane, I had to swallow my pride, walk all the way to the front of the plane, ask for a seatbelt extender, and then shuffle my way all the way to the back and get those stairs again, as everybody breathed a sigh of relief, saying, thank God he's not going to sit next to me. Emotionally devastating. Was that enough to get me to switch? No. The food addiction, still too strong. I had a group of friends, longtime friends, try to organize an intervention for me. They had grown so concerned. And I got angry. Who are they? Who are these group of supposed friends to tell me that I had a problem? I knew that I had a problem. Of course I knew that I had a problem. But who were these people to tell me? They were making a much bigger deal of it than I thought that it should have been. And so I excommunicated. I lost a very group of dear friends because they had great concern for me. Why? Because the addiction was still too strong. And oh, by the way, I had been on high blood pressure medication since high school. I was put on beta blockers at 15 years old when I walked into the doctor's office, and my blood pressure was somewhere in the neighborhood of 190 over 110 because I was eating chronically at Burger King and Taco Bell, and if it was fried, it was my kind of food, and that's just the way that it was. But eventually I reached the conclusion that I was not going to live to see the age of 30 years old. And I still knew nothing of a plant-based diet at this point, and I honestly wish that I did. I did what I thought was going to be the last desperate Hail Mary move that I could possibly make, and I underwent gastric bypass surgery. And now this is a controversial procedure, I understand that. But what the surgery did was, it was such a radical step for me to conquer that food addiction. Because for 3 to 6 months afterwards, you cannot physically tolerate the foods that you have been eating. Otherwise, you get violently ill, the likes of which I would never wish on my worst enemy. So you already feel like garbage because you're recovering from the surgery, but then you're going through the detox at the same time, so it makes it a little bit more palatable. And I lose a lot of weight, and I'm feeling pretty good, right? I still think, man, I got this thing. I gotten down to about 160, and I'm feeling great. I lost a whole host of weight. And then as luck would have it, my life changed. I didn't realize how sluggish and unhealthy I was still feeling until the one day I was interviewing this athlete. I have a column still for CBS Sports. And I was interviewing this gentleman by the name of Austin Aries. He's a pro wrestler of all things. And he said, man, you have to watch this documentary. He said, it's called What the Health? It Will Change Your Life, right? Anybody here seen What the Health? Of course. I'm surprised that there weren't more hands, honestly. And so I did. And without even trying, like, the weight just came down. My cholesterol came down. My blood pressure was the lowest that it had ever been in my entire life. I went from never having run in my entire life to now just running 5Ks like it was nothing. Like, I'm knocking these things out. And it's unbelievable how great that I felt, and I just fell in love with the science behind it. And I think that that's why you guys are here today. You guys get fascinated by all the research and the presentations from Dr. Barnard and from Dr. Crosby, right? I now get an opportunity to talk to these doctors who are on the cutting edge of this research, and I put the Exam Room podcast together, and now I get to take all of this information and I get to spread it out to all of you guys. And in over less than 2 years now, we've got about 2 million listeners. And it is the most rewarding and the most humble thing in the world to not only be able to share my story, but to be able to share the story of so many others. People like Eric O'Gray, who was up here earlier. A gentleman by the name of Mark Ramirez. His whole family decimated by diabetes. A lot of them died. A lot of them lost limbs. And here's Mark Ramirez, thriving, teaching the power of a plant-based diet. This was a former University of Michigan football player. The most macho of macho men, saying, oh, I don't need that steak. I don't need that hamburger. Give me chickpeas and beans. And now this guy is changing the world. And so it's so humbling to be able to work with a group like the Physicians Committee, and then to be invited out here to speak with a group such as yourself today. It is truly the honor of my life, and I cannot thank you guys for taking the time to sit here and to listen to me. And I will be taping some episodes of the Exam Room right over there. If you have any questions, I would highly encourage you, please come up and ask. I would be more than happy to talk your ear off about food addiction. That is my wheelhouse. But for now, there are plenty of other booths and tents and things of that nature for you guys to go see. So thank you very much for listening, and give yourselves a round of applause for being here. All right. What's your name, sir?
My name is Mike Young. I'm one of the organizers. All right, thanks. Thanks, Chuck. Well, my name is Mike Young, and I am one of the organizers along with Green Fair. When I say me, I mean our organization, which is aPlantBasedDiet.org. We're right over here. We've got a tent right next to us. And before I go and say a few words, I want to mention that we do have boxed water that we're selling. I could probably use some myself right now. Because we don't allow single-use plastics here as part of our zero waste. So we don't have a source of water, unfortunately, because we're in this open parking lot facility, which is a great venue, but it just doesn't have a source of water. So we are selling it for $4 a box right over here in the tent. And all the money goes towards this festival specifically. And as you know, this festival has free general admission, and all the festivals that we do are free general admission. We are like a public education nonprofit. We're all volunteers, so I just want to let you know that any money raised from the sale of this is going to, we don't have to charge anybody admission, because we really want to spread this lifestyle to as many people as possible. And just to let you know about our organization, aPlantBasedDiet.org, you're also up here and on the sign above us, we are a 100% vegan nonprofit organization. And when I say vegan, I mean vegan at a minimum. We will not really participate in much of anything unless like an event like this, it has to be a completely vegan event. We do other events at local restaurants and other things, and we'll be announcing some restaurant events here in Northern Virginia soon. But we don't participate unless the restaurant agrees to make our event a completely vegan event. And a lot of times we'll go in the restaurants that are, of course, most restaurants are not 100% vegan. But we'll do a special event because we want to let them know that there are vegans out there that want to learn about new vegan choices. They want to go to restaurants that have vegan options. So we'll do these vegan events. But that's on the low end. On the high end, we want to use food as medicine, and we want to promote the use of food as medicine in our organization. So one of the things you'll see is that we have the certified banner over there on one of our pull-up banners, and some of the vendors, I think there's 4 of them here today, they have achieved our certification, and that points out the healthy vegan options. When I say healthy, I mean anything that is going to promote your health as much as possible, because vegan food and vegan eating in general is very healthy, but there are different levels to that. And like as I said, we want to promote more food as medicine, so we want to promote the healthiest options. So 4 of our vendors here have some of the healthiest options available. They have specific foods that they sell that are certified, not their whole menu, just specific ones, and they can tell you which ones. So if you see that certification, just ask them which ones. There's one exception to that, and that's Green Fair, who is the other partner up here on the big banner above. Green Fair Organic Cafe, they're the only restaurant we've ever worked with that their entire menu has met our certification. Not just one item, the entire menu. So you can never go wrong. I mean, just, if you care about your health, that is I'd say the healthiest restaurant in the world. And I've been traveling recently through Europe and stuff, and I was expecting to see like some really cool, like Green Fair, like real health food restaurants, and I can tell you they don't exist. So not only are they making the healthiest food because it's all whole food, plant-based, no added oil, no added salt, no added sugar, it's also completely 100% organic. So that describes the top level of what we're trying to do with our nonprofit. Is we say we're advocates for a veganic whole plant lifestyle. And what that means is veganic is a step above organic. Okay, organic is already, as you probably know, a very sustainable and healthy way to eat in general, whether we're talking just anything. Farming methods, organic methods are better because they protect the environment and they protect your health because they don't use chemicals, all right? That's the thing about organic, right? You don't use any kind of chemical fertilizers when you grow your plants. You don't use any kind of chemical bug killers to kill off pests. You use different methods. You don't use any kind of chemical weed killers to kill weeds. So you're protecting the environment, and you're, of course, not eating these chemicals when you eat the food. If you ever wonder why organic is so much better, it's because you're not eating chemicals. You're just eating plants, and that's really what you want to do. Now, veganic is a step above that, because veganic goes another step higher and says, well, when you're growing those plants, not only are you not going to use chemicals, but don't use animal products when you're growing those plants, all right? Now, in farming, even organic farming, they will use manures, they will use bone meal, things like this. These are animal products. Even organic will use that, and most people don't even know what veganic is right now. But we want to start certifying foods that are veganic. We have our certification already developed, but we don't really have many takers right now, okay? So if you know someone who is interested, like usually at the farming level, growers, local growers who want to grow without any animal products and without any chemicals, point them in our direction. You can just connect with us over there at the tent, because we believe that's the future of farming. And even with veganic, if you do it right, you can do indoor farming methods where you don't have to worry about the weather, which is actually good today. But you know, when you grow things outdoors, you never know what's going to happen to your food that you're growing. But if you grow it indoors, not with chemicals, okay, because there's plenty of indoor growing that uses lots of chemicals. We're not talking about that. We want to use veganic methods. Anybody you know that might be interested in this, or if you're interested in learning about it for that matter, sign up for our email list. We have a local email list over at our tent. And we're talking about this and other things, but unfortunately we don't really talk about veganic much because no one's there yet. But we do believe that's the future of growing food for people, for humans, because we believe it's the healthiest way to go. And that's really what we want to promote and we want to educate people on. Some of the other things we do, you'll see above our pull-up banner, VeganDC.org. That's a group on Facebook. Some of you may be members of VeganDC.org. And we try to encourage social interaction in the communities that we serve. And we work in many communities, not just locally here in the DC area. But what we want to do is have a venue where people can talk about these issues. They can talk about different restaurants in the area. They can talk about different activities. And that's what our VeganDC.org is. It's a place where you can talk about anything that's at a minimum completely vegan and local, or at least locally related, and just kind of get the word out, bounce it off of people. We've got over 1,200 members in the group, and it's growing rapidly. And we're really happy to see that because it helps to get the message out to people. And don't think that just because you join this group that's on Facebook and you talk about things that you're just going to be talking to the choir. No, we do not have any groups like this that are private. All of our groups are public. And if you know how social media works and the Facebook works, well, if you find a post that you like on VeganDC.org, you like it, you comment on it, you share it. You can share it, by the way, because it's a public group. You can share anything you want in your timeline. But even if you just comment on it and you like it or give it a heart, most likely people that you know that are your friends on Facebook are going to see that pop up in their news feed because it's on a public group, which is why we intentionally created a public group. We don't have anything to hide. We are not a private organization. We want to get the word out to the general public. We're glad that this is a vegan event that has a lot of vegan folks here, but ideally we want to bring in everyone that is not vegan, because we believe that that's the future of just lifestyles in general, is a vegan lifestyle, because it's so much better for people, animals, and the planet. And that's our slogan, by the way. And the slogan for this event is for people, animals, and our planet. So that's pretty much what we're doing here. Like I said, we are in other areas. We do other veg fests, but for here in the DC area, sign up on our email list. Join our VeganDC.org group. You'll hear about all these different concepts I discussed here today. And get some boxed water. Spread the word, because that's a really cool recyclable container way, environmentally friendly way. And like I said, the money goes back to this fest in particular to make it free for everybody. And I think that's about all I have to say. And I want to introduce some other members of our team, because you probably know that this is an entire volunteer team. We have a core team of, I think, probably like 7 or 8 people. And we've been working on this event for almost a year now. None of us get paid, completely volunteer. We're just trying not to lose money. You may have seen me make some posts on Facebook. We just don't want to end up owing money at the end of the day. Anything has to be sustainable if it's going to continue. And we do believe we've got it zeroed in, and we're just going to come right in at not losing any money, not making any money, which is going to be great, because it will enable us to do this again next year and do other events. So I want to introduce John Foster from our team. Hey, John.
Hey, Mike. Thank you so much. So I want to thank Gwen for the opportunity to be here, and it's really Gwen is the reason why I'm standing here. 3 years ago, I'll tell you a little bit about my journey, because each one of us has a unique journey and how we got here. And I'm just curious, are there non-vegans in the audience? Oh, a few. All right, good. Because that's really, one of the reasons we do this is to get as many non-vegans and vegans here as well. Because this is about, helping people. Because ultimately, what all this is about is relationships. It's a relationship with food. It's a relationship, with yourself and how you're dealing with your health. And so I'll tell you, I'm going to give you a quick story as far as kind of my background and how I got here. It was 3 years ago. I met Gwen at a farmer's market. And I had done every diet under the sun. I had done a keto diet. I had done a South Beach. I had done a cabbage soup diet. I had done, you name them. I mean, I had done at least a half dozen. And it was a real struggle. And so I had met Gwen at a farmer's market, and this was 3 years ago. And we got to talking, and she said, well, you ought to stop by Green Fair. And so I did. And so the reason how I got doing this is I went through the 21-day Kickstart at Green Fair. And in that 21 days, it literally transformed my life. In 21 days, I dropped 13 pounds, and I said, man, I got to eat more food and lose weight and feel better. And so I said, I'm going to keep going. And so I've kept going. And it's done. I got off medications. I had medication for acid reflux, borderline high blood pressure, and that's all gone. And I'm 40 pounds lighter. And so it was, it was literally life transforming for me. And so one of the things I think about is how can I share this with other people? And so I'll tell you, it's made a difference in my family. My daughter now is, I'll say, almost vegan. Maybe on the weekends, there might be a little bit of little bit of change, but I've seen a huge change in her as well. So for me, this has been life changing. And the other thing about it is that it really is not difficult. I thought, I'd been through so many different diets, and I thought, man, I can't keep this up. And so this is the only one that I've found to be sustainable. And, I've kept it up, and here it is 3 years later. I couldn't believe that I would be talking to people about a whole food, plant-based diet, 3 years later. So, I can't tell you enough as far as getting the word out about this, I'll say, movement. And we're seeing this movement, and I think, this festival is a good example of it. And the number of people that we have coming to the festival, the number of people that are recognizing that something needs to change. We have a huge health crisis in this country. You look at our young people. There are not enough. The military is having a hard time recruiting people. The police are having a hard time recruiting people because they're not in good enough shape. There's overweight problems. You've got issues of diabetes. You've got issues of heart disease, and the list goes on. And so this is what I've found to be really the only answer, sustainable answer. And so it's great from an individual standpoint, but as Mike was saying earlier, it not only impacts you, it impacts everything. It impacts our environment. It impacts, the people that we're around. So by doing this, you can have a huge impact on the people in your family. You're going to have an impact on the people you work with. So I know for me, it's about talking to people about this, educating people. And that's one of the challenges I think that we have out there. And it's one of the reasons from a festival standpoint, just to get the word out. So the beauty of this is that anybody can do it. It is not really that hard. There's some basic rules to follow. And I learned those basic rules and have been following, and it's been really easy. So, from that standpoint, I really encourage people, and that's anytime I'm around, at the farmer's market, at work, in order to get people to at least think about making a change. So one of the other things that I've done lately is I do a lot of cooking. So let's talk about making this easier. So I know one of the challenges is how do you maintain this? And so there are things like meal prep. Doing meal prep once or twice a week to make that an easier process. So you don't really have to think about it. Learned that at Green Fair and going through the Kickstart program. And so I learned those basic rules in order to be able to maintain this. So yeah, for me, this has been an unbelievable experience. And then also just organizing this festival has also been a great experience. And again, I appreciate that, as far as the opportunity to do that through Gwen and the group that we're working with. So, I've had some challenges. I'll say, from a background standpoint, back as I mentioned, the different diets I've gone through. Back in 2009, I thought I was going to start a business. I hope there are no tomatoes out there, but I actually thought I was going to start a baby back rib business. And so I'll say, unfortunately, I had cooked over 1,000 racks of ribs, and maybe I have to apologize for that. But I got to tell you, I've seen the light, and I had stopped. I decided not to do that. So again, this has literally transformed and changed my life significantly, not only from the way I eat, but from the way I think about, the environment, the way I think about animals. So this has been, literally, transformational for me. And so, I can't tell you enough how much I enjoy and continue to enjoy doing this, following this lifestyle. So the other thing I'll say is that I have had the opportunity to share this with family, with friends, and coworkers. The other thing I'm going to mention is prostate cancer. And I bring this up because my father passed away as a result of prostate cancer. I've known a number of people just recently who have been struggling with prostate cancer. And if you start to look at from a medical standpoint, some of the studies that have been done, there's an answer for that. And a whole food plant-based diet can definitely have an impact on that. I watched the movie The Marshall Plan a couple of years ago. I wish I was alive or my dad was still alive, because it may have changed the outcome. So it just, as I said, the impact of this movement of the whole food plant-based diet is significant, and I have seen it in my life, change me and change the people around me as well. So with that, I know we've got one more. We've got another person from our volunteer group. Oh, we've got Quinn Whitaker.
Give a round of applause for John. When he said I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Gwen, he's talking impromptu without any slides as a kindness of his heart to help us fill this space. So putting on a Veg Fest like this was an idea that we had last August, and I reached out to Mike Young, and with his organization that hosts the Veg Fest, we sort of partnered up and started looking for volunteers who are willing to go the distance with us. And we have John Foster, Mike Young, Pat Barton. Pat, do you want to? Pat Barton? Pat, raise your hand. I'm giving you credit. Pat does the big parties in DC. If you want to go to an amazing New Year's party in DC, he did all the staging and helped with the bands and the power and things that we had no idea. So it's been great to have a fantastic team. Terri Siggins, who's going to chat briefly about she's from the Fairfax Food Council, so she's been doing this for a while. And I'm going to let you say a few words about Fairfax. Give a welcome to Terri.
Thanks, Gwen. First of all, I just wanted to say I am for our committee helping out with organizing volunteers, and I just want to recognize if you are in a yellow shirt or if you see somebody in a yellow shirt, they have been here, a lot of them, since 7 a.m. this morning volunteering and helping out. And the one thing I sent out the other day for our volunteers was we need lots of flexibility and patience being our first Veg Fest. And I have to say that they came through with the flexibility and patience because everybody's just been stepping up to the plate and doing what was ever needed. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, volunteers. So let's give a round of applause to our volunteers. So one of my other roles is working for the Fairfax Food Council as the project manager. And so I thought I'd just speak about that a little bit to let you know that this organization exists, because I think sometimes when we're talking about a vegan lifestyle or a whole food plant-based lifestyle, sometimes it can sound somewhat elitist. And I wanted to kind of talk about what the Fairfax Food Council is. We aren't, I am vegan myself and eat a whole plant-based food diet, but we are not a vegan organization. But what we are is a collaborative effort of government, nonprofit agencies, faith-based organizations, community organizations, etc., that are all working collaboratively to address food insecurity issues in our county, as well as issues related to healthy eating. So I think it's really important when we think about food access that we think about the fruits and vegetables that are being donated to our food pantries and organizations that work with people in need. One of the biggest comments that happens with the Food Council is people don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, especially in certain areas of our county. So when you're thinking about doing those donations, think about the types of food that you want to eat and donating those foods to those food pantries, because oftentimes they get things that we may not want to eat ourselves. So think about when you're donating, what can you be donating? We have a list up on our website of pantries that accept fresh fruits and vegetables to all of their pantries. Cornerstones, which is over the tent over here, is one of our nonprofit agencies that's part of the Food Council. They glean from the farmers market every weekend from the Reston Farmers Market, glean all the vegetables and fruit that are being thrown out. And we have opportunities. We're working on a gleaning network to get more fresh fruits and vegetables into areas of need. So please check out our organization. We are a collaborative organization that's housed in the health department. So you can go just search Fairfax Food Council and you'll see us. We have meetings monthly. We have 3 work groups focused on access, food insecurity. We have another one focused on urban agriculture, so trying to get more community gardens so people can grow their own fresh fruits and vegetables. And then we also have a work group that is focus on nutrition literacy, so really trying to educate people. And we always come from the standpoint, the more fruits and vegetables you can eat, the better off you're going to feel, and be practicing things that are good for the environment as well. So with that, I have been told that I'm supposed to mention 2 things. One is that there's water for sale, which supports the Veg Fest. And then the Feed Me Greens, that pig over there who wants greens, is for if you want to make a donation. So go ahead and support this great cause. I'm excited that it's going so well today, and we're hoping that this will be an annual event that happens in Fairfax. Thank you.
So we have a product here called boxed water. Has anybody seen this before? The water is right at the Vegan DC. If you're thirsty, it's we're trying to move away from the single-use plastic. So it's a $4 donation to the organization that's going to help us host that. So if you need some water to drink, we've got that over at the table. We've got Damian Mander is going to be here. He's actually in our green room, so we're going to go find him. I was hoping to do one more testimonial. Has anybody in the audience been a Kickstarter? I think there's a number of people. I see a number of people. That's awesome. Very cool. So PCRM is the organization that has the 21-day Kickstart, and it's not something that's expensive. You can actually go on, I think Neil talked about it, PCRM.org, and do the 21-day Kickstart at no cost. And it has recipes, there's coaching sessions, or you can do the program at Green Fair. We do it every month, and we offer community classes, and you actually get food. So it's not shopping or cooking for 21 days, which is sometimes a great date night. If any of the Kickstarters want to come up and share their experience, I've got like another 5 minutes before we're trying to get Evan Bass. I don't know if anybody knows Evan. He's a very dynamic speaker, and he's running the parking garage right now, so I think he's going to come and do another 5-minute testimonial. So not only and I'll sort of share my story. I'm 61, but just from the standpoint of losing weight, thank you. 61! Woo! I look better now and feel better. It's pretty cool way of living. But not only do you feel better and look better, you also athletic ability tends to change. And I think Evan's going to come talk a little bit about his running experience. And you heard about Eric with his running marathons. Eric, do you want to say just a few words since you're here? Talk a little bit about your we can do a quick Q&A and see if Evan comes up. And Damian Mander is going to be up shortly. And then after that, I'm going to share my brief story, and then Colin Campbell actually is going to be talking at 2:45. Gene Bauer, and then our local newspaper reporter from the Washington Post, Cortland Malloy, is going to be closing things down for the group and hopefully out with a bang.
Thank you so much. So everybody knows Gwen Whitaker, right? Of Green Fair Restaurant. The healthiest food in Virginia. It's wonderful. So Gwen does a wonderful job, and she has discovered what most restaurants haven't, and that is that you can make healthy food that also tastes good. The problem at most restaurants is they're making food to maximize the flavor, to maximize the addictive properties. So you want to binge on it, you want to overeat, you want to do all these things. But anybody can make food taste good with a stick of butter, or a cup of sugar, or bacon, or similar unhealthy ingredients. What takes skill and results in really good healthy nutrition is when you know your herb and spice combinations and you're able to make food taste good without salt, without oil, and without sugar. And that's what Gwen does at her restaurant, and it's something that she does in a very unique way that you cannot get in many other restaurants in the area. Rather than just try to make food taste good, she makes it taste good while being healthy. So that's a very rare combination. So who here has been to Green Fair in Herndon? It is my favorite restaurant. I have been to vegan restaurants all throughout the world, and of all the world-class vegan restaurants that I've been to, Green Fair truly is in the top 3, basically because it combines health and flavor, and it's a very rare combination. So let's all give Gwen a wonderful round of applause. Thank you.
So those who know me well know that I'm not a huge cook, but I have an amazing team of people. Pericles Silva leads the operations. So those who know Pericles, he's not here, but give Pericles. He's had a following for 5 years at Whole Foods and has been teaching healthy eating for a very long time now, and does the Food for Life instruction classes with me at Green Fair for Kickstart. So we've got an amazing team of food prep and cooks that actually help us take recipes from a lot of the Forks Over Knives and China Study cookbooks, and then improve those for the restaurant and make those, hopefully make those better. But sometimes we take out things like agave or maple syrup, or things that get added coconut oil to a lot of the vegan foods that while they're vegan, they're not good for our health. So that was the last part of my journey, I think, was learning about the no oil aspect thing. And so oil is a processed food and has a big impact on inflammation, and inflammation creates a lot of challenges for the human body. So,
and best of all, when you eat vegan food, nobody gets hurt. It's a way of eating that is good for people, for animals, and for the planet. So as I'm arguing with people on Twitter all day long some days, there's a couple of different ways that you can lose weight. You can lose weight by doing unhealthy things like keto, or you can lose weight by doing healthy things like a whole food plant-based diet. But if you can choose 2 ways to lose weight, even if both ways were equally good for losing weight, why wouldn't you choose the one that is also kind towards animals and the planet, right? So we should always make choices that not just benefit ourselves, but to benefit everybody else that's on this planet as well as all living creatures. And that's what we really try to advocate for. So, that's why we're here, is to learn about how we can help ourselves become more healthy, how we can help animals and reduce animal cruelty and increase animal welfare, and also try to reverse some of the planetary harm that we're causing. And as we all know, a whole food plant-based diet will do all of these things. And the other thing that Gwen does at her restaurant that is much different than just serving food, she also has a lot of immersion programs. So anybody here who wants to learn how to do this, because it's a very hard thing to learn how to do for the first time, we have somebody ready? Okay, well, let's once again give Gwen and Green Fair Restaurant our warmest round of applause, and we have a new speaker.
So Chris Hawkins, I think, is volunteered to give us another few minutes. Bear with us for another 5 minutes. Chris Hawkins.
Oh, yeah. How y'all doing? How many people here are plant-based? Outstanding. How many people are going to stay plant-based? Outstanding. The ones that didn't raise your hand, you need to stay here. Because I'm going to tell you why. What do you think I used to weigh back in 2015?
400.
Not close. I was more. No. Actually, I was 243 pounds in 2015. I met my lovely wife, which is working over the Green Fair stand. I was 243 pounds. My very first date, I told her my triglycerides were almost 600. And she's like, I've got a way to change you. I've made enough changes in my life that I went, this girl's really cool. I want to stay with her. So fast forward now, I've been married over 2 years, so it's great. I now weigh 195 pounds. But the weight is not what I like to talk about. I didn't lose weight, I keep it off. What I found was the most interesting thing was buying clothes. When you lose weight and you go from a 42-30 to a 36-30, you go through a lot of jeans. I'm going to put a plug in for a place called the Unique Thrift Shop because my $3 shorts, they actually fit today, so I'm very happy about that. But I had to make a lot of changes in my life. Back in 2013, I was going through a dreaded thing called a divorce, but it worked out. It's all fine. I now got to meet a very wonderful woman. By meeting that wonderful woman, I got to lose a lot of weight. I actually eat more today than I think I ever have. So there's some great desserts that you can actually have that I can no longer have. I've gone to the SOS, Save Our Souls, or salt, oil, sugar. So when my wife pulled out vegetable broth one night, I'm like, what is vegetable broth? That is something you don't do. Because you got to have chicken stock and all those things, right? Well, now, fast forward, I've made some employment changes in life. I have more freedom. I'm home more often, so I get to cook. So the other day, my wife put the wok up there as usual, and I realized, because I like to make stir fries, that our wok is very... Now, how many people here would ever think that their wok is too small? Okay, so I'm learning there are a lot of cool tools. And last night, we were making these homemade french fries. I was really excited, and she pulled out this cool slicer thing that's got ridges in it. I have seen this in the drawer for years. So last night, I learned how to use this thing. So it was really cool. I made lots of french fries last night. But I don't know, just being plant-based has changed more than my weight. It's giving me more energy. It irritates my wife, but that's okay. I like that. It's very energetic, but I sleep better at night. Cycling, guys, I'm a Trekkie. I'm a roadie. I love you guys. I can actually cycle more. And if you want to do the whole plant-based thing, there's a nice, wonderful trail here. It goes all the way to Purcellville one direction. It goes all the way to DC where the weird people live. But it's okay, because when you're plant-based and you're on a bike, you can ride fast from those weird people. So I love that. I don't really like to go clothes shopping, but we do occasionally. The things I get to eat. How many people like kale? We're weird, aren't we? But you gotta have kale in everything, because in my house, if we don't put kale or spinach in it, I get a funny look from my wife. How many people have pets? How many people's dogs are vegan? Outstanding, our dog's vegan. Well, why would we put our dogs as vegan, and what's the biggest problem we found with our dogs? We actually don't have dogs, dogs have you. So we have these two little canine kiddos in our house that we converted to vegan. Everybody thinks I'm crazy, but our little dachshunds have actually become a lot healthier. And as the biggest thing about plant-based is I learned what food is, and I learned what food is not. I've also learned two other terms that my wife taught me. There is healthy and healthier. There are things called Oreos. Does everybody like Oreos? Come on, help. All right, everybody knows. Are Oreos healthy or are they healthier? They're neither, because they're healthier-ish. They're like dirty. but they have deep fried Oreos at the fair. And if you've never had those, please try them at least once in your life. It's like heaven. And they have confectionery chocolates you put, or powdered sugar and stuff on there. But learning what food is and food is not, and my triglycerides, ironically, are still super high, but everything else has since changed in my life. Well, my wife the other day couldn't figure out why my triglycerides wouldn't come down. Hey, honey, Sonia, wait, that's my wife. She's wonderful. So she the other day decides to call the godfather of the plant-based world, Dr. Esseltine. She actually called him, and guess what? He called back. So he said, Chris, this is what you need to do. So this is before we went to Austin, Texas. And if you've never been to Austin, Texas, you have to go once in your life. Because Austin, Texas is like being in Texas and not being in Texas. Nobody wears cowboy hats, but what they have is a ton of vegan and plant-based people. I'm here to tell you they have some of the best food. Sweet Ritual is the best by far. Loving Hut is really good. Trust me, I love Loving Hut. Always loved them. But Sweet Ritual has the best ice cream on the face of this planet. We were there for 3.5 days. We went twice. And I had 2 scoops. Their ice cream was phenomenal. So we ate like kings. She didn't really appreciate it, but we went all the time on the rental car because I'm there to support people. I eat food to keep people in business. So we've got that said. You got to do the good things and help. So then we came back, and then I weighed about 199 pounds, did my physical, had my blood drawn, and then we found out my labs were at 533 for my triglycerides. 2 weeks later, I got my blood drawn again. Everything dropped except my triglycerides. They've gone back up, so hopefully Dr. Esseltine will be able to tell me what I need to do for my triglycerides. I could have what's called Metabolic Syndrome, and if you've never heard that, look that up. There are some factors that lead to metabolic syndrome. One is your waist size. Well, I got that covered there. I went from 4230 to 3630. I got that covered, right? Go plant-based. Got that covered. What else, honey? I lost weight. I exercised more. I went out. How many people went running yesterday? Outstanding. It was the most beautiful day. It wasn't like today. It's a very cool day for running. Maybe you'll run faster. But am I good on time? Okay, let's just keep on going. We're done. Hey, thank you very much. Robin Williams was my idol. I want to be on stage. I actually got cut off. This is where she gives me the hook. Thanks.